Welcome, everybody. I'm Mark Halperin reporting live from Gotham City. It is June something, and it's like 6 o'clock Eastern, and very glad you're part of the two-way experience. Are you experienced, I ask? Yes, you are. Thank you for being part of it. Tonight, we're going to talk about primarily two big stories, and they're the two stories that we woke up with, and many developments across the board on both. One is the whole Iran situation and what's going on there. And I'll have something to say about that, that I think people are getting wrong. And the other is the New York City mayor's race and the concept of the political establishment adjusting to a candidate that they do not like. So we'll talk about all that with our guests this evening, 2/5 of the ensemble of Two Ways marquee program. I call it our marquee program now just to make them laugh. It is the group chat. It airs Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And with us tonight, Emma Jo Morris and Nina Turner, both co-hosts of the group chat. And they'll be here in just a moment. We'll run through some elements. As always, if you're here on the two-way platform, we'd love your participation. And you do that by raising your yellow electronic hand. Please don't email me for tech support on how to raise your electronic hand, because here's my view of that. If you can't figure out how to raise your hand, a little bit of an IQ test. We probably don't want to hear your question. Sorry to be so straightforward, but that's how I feel. So people like Cody and Deborah and Jack, Haley, they get it. Dean, they all understand. Just hit the button. If you're not watching on this platform, but are on some other platform and watching live or even recorded, don't put smack in the chat. Don't raise your hand. Remember, peace, love, and understanding, the presumption of grace for all. And I have to say that these two stories, unfortunately, the New York mayor race and the Iran situation, are like most stories we talk about here and most stories in the American national town square for the last 30 years, are dividing on deeply partisan lines. And I'll say again, as I always do, if you're on here and you hear somebody say something you don't like, learn from it. Don't write me an email or go on Twitter and say, Mark, I'll never watch your show again because somebody said something I didn't agree with. Ain't that America? You and me, just enjoy it. Don't learn from it. Don't say, well, I don't want to be on a platform where people are saying things I don't agree with. Think about that. Think about what madness that is. Because I'll tell you, almost everybody on this platform says things that are representative of the point of view of tens of millions of others. That's just the nature of America right now. Why wouldn't you want to hear what tens of millions of other people are thinking? Why wouldn't you? I don't know. So please, as you watch tonight, if you hear things you don't agree with, learn. Don't get mad. All right. This program now has two great sponsors, and we couldn't be happier to have them. And the first I'm going to tell you about is our friends at Indeed. If you're hiring in any job, you want to do it quickly. Obviously, the sooner you can fill the jobs, the quicker you can move on to actually running your company, building your company, getting stuff done. And when it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. You should stop struggling to find job posts to fill jobs on other job sites, because Indeed, with its sponsored job ads, help you stand out and hire quickly. Sponsored job posts are fantastic because your post jumps to the top of the page, you find relevant candidates, and you can reach the people you want to reach quickly. All right. It makes a huge difference. According to Indeed's own data, sponsored job ads posted directly on Indeed have a 45% more, get 45% more applications than the non-sponsored job. So there's no need to wait now. Speed up your hiring immediately with Indeed. Listeners of this program and viewers of this program, well, you get a $75 sponsored ad credit to get your jobs more visibility if you go on and you go to Indeed.com/two-way. That gets you your $75. Just go to Indeed.com/two-way right now and support this program by saying you heard about Indeed on the show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening, Indeed.com/two-way, terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. All right. As I said, the two big stories, Iran and the New York City mayor's race. Let's first talk about Iran. Lots of speculation, discussion, conversation today about what I believe is meaningless. Marco Rubio, number one, continues to talk to the media saying that Iran had its nuclear program capacity eliminated, still closer to the president than some other evaluations, including that leaked intelligence report, but not going quite as far as the president. President Trump, number two, said today that there isn't the need for a nuclear deal after the U.S. strikes, but then also said that there will potentially be talks next week. Here's the president once again, I don't know, doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, quintupling down on the obliterated notion. This is number 3.
This is also Iran made the statement, and it's also, if you read the document that was given, that Pete can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know, other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out.
Okay, so the reality is we don't know. Okay, we don't know. And what we do know is it doesn't matter how much was destroyed, because Iran could rebuild its program. We know that they likely move some of the material. We know that they could get the material from elsewhere. So I continue to say, don't focus on this phony debate about whether or not it was obliterated or destroyed or set back a week or set back 2 years. Focus on the question of, will the Iranians, either through more Israeli action, covert action, or more likely through some sort of deal, have the program inspected, checked, verified? That's what matters. Not this question of what is one point of view say versus another point of view. Lots of focus, though, on that with the president and his team calling the leaked report fake news, and the White House now calling for an FBI investigation. Here's Caroline Leavitt, number 7. We have number 7.
They took bits and pieces from a leaked top secret intelligence report. And by the way, I understand the FBI is investigating who was the source of that leak, because it's an illegal leak, to CNN. And this is the same fake news CNN reporter who wrote the story alleging that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which we know is one of the greatest political hoaxes this country and the American public have ever seen. And that CNN story does not change the facts. There was a total and complete obliteration of Iran's nuclear facilities. And because of the president's strike, because of the precision of our United States military and this perfectly executed mission, Iran no longer has the capability to produce a nuclear weapon as imminently as they did prior to the strike. The American people and the world should be grateful for that, and it's disgusting that CNN and the New York Times are disparaging not just the president, but our brave men and women who helped conduct this highly successful operation.
And what kind of consequence could the leak?
So of course, CNN and the New York Times are just taking a leaked document. I haven't heard anybody say it's a fake document. But it is, as I keep saying, it's one part of a vast intelligence bureaucracy issuing a preliminary report. The press shouldn't be treating that like it's the truth, nor should they be treating what the president said as the truth. And of course, Caroline and Marco Rubio are both, in their characterizations, acting tonally like they're agreeing with the president, but they really don't. At the same time, I'll say a second time, it doesn't matter what the current view of anybody is. Anybody, the Israelis, the Iranians, the president, the intelligence, parts of the intelligence community, it doesn't matter. The whole point of this is to eliminate Iran's capability for ballistic missiles and nukes, and whatever has to happen, has to happen. And the president says we don't need talks. Well, we do. I disagree respectfully with the president there. We do need talks. All right. I want to bring our guests in a minute to talk about that, and then lots going on with the New York City mayor's race, and I want to talk about that with them as well. If you'd like to get in on the conversation on those two topics or anything else on your mind, please, if you're here on the two-way platform, raise your electronic hand. Let me just show you one thing about the mayoral race, which I find fascinating. Number 15, Bill Clinton, who endorsed Andrew Cuomo, his former HUD secretary, went on Twitter today and went further in supporting the likely Democratic nominee, Mr. Mamdani, with this tweet. Congratulations on your victory in yesterday's primary election and a well-run campaign. I'm wishing you much success in November and beyond as you work to bring New Yorkers together to tackle the city's challenges and shape a stronger, fairer future. Now, he doesn't endorse him there, but wishing him success and basically saying he's going to be mayor is implicitly a further vote of support, expression of support than you heard from people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, who simply said he ran a good campaign and they look forward to talking to him. And so this is pretty significant because Bill Clinton, again, endorsed Andrew Cuomo, and Bill Clinton is, in some ways the godfather of the party currently. So we're going to talk about all that, both Iran, and maybe we'll start with the mayor's race with our guests. We'll see what my mood is like after I bring them in, and after I bring you this word from our other sponsor. Our other sponsor is Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth makes incredible stuff, and particularly important if you're like me in a place that's 100 degrees and you're looking to stay cool during the day, wearing their all-day tee, or at night with their Cozy Earth bamboo sheets. All their stuff made from viscose from bamboo, naturally wicks away heat and moisture, keeps it away from your body, and helps you stay cooler. If you buy their night stuff, you buy their sheets, you get a 100-day sleep trial. Hottest nights of the year right now, good opportunity to test it out. You get to return it hassle-free if you decide you don't want it. But my prediction, and I don't make many predictions, as you know, is if you get it, you're going to want to keep it. And if you do keep it, it comes with their patented 10-year warranty on all the bedding products. That's a decade of cool quality sleep. So upgrade your summer now. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use the code TWOWAY. On this one, you get 40% off their best-selling temperature-regulating sheets, apparel, and more. Trust me, you will feel the difference the very first night. 40% off. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use the code TWOWAY. Sleep cooler, lounge lighter, stay cooler. All right, let's bring in our guests. And I couldn't be more excited to have them there. They're my colleagues at Two-Way. And I would say that watching the development of their relationship has been one of the highlights of my career this year, at least, because they don't agree necessarily on very much, but they've come to enjoy working together, respecting each other. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you, not for the first time anywhere, but for the first time today together, as far as I know, the Honorable Nina Turner, gentlelady from Ohio, and Emma Jo Morris, a new mom, a Canadian Jew, and a resident of Brooklyn, USA. How's that for an intro? Ladies, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Very grateful to you for being part of this. I want to start with the mayor's race because I do, and because I want to show more elements from that. Here's number 11, the win of the likely Democratic nominee, according to the New York Times, is, you'll see here in a moment, reverberating beyond New York City. I like the fact that the New York Times is able to measure reverberation. Mamdani's success in mayor primary reverberates. I like the word reverberates. Here's one place it was reverberating, all the way over in Europe, where President Trump couldn't help but go on Truth Social. This is number 10, please. President Trump had some choice words for this gentleman. It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zohran Mamdani, 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Democratic primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3. I'm stopping there. Either of you know what AOC +3 means?
Yeah, the squad.
AOC +3. Got it. Dummies all backing him. And even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, is groveling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. All right, a couple more things I want to show you, ladies, before I bring in. Number 12. This will come as no surprise. The Wall Street Journal reports, with their excellent sources, that Wall Street is panicking over the prospects of a socialist mayor running New York City. The betting markets, number 14, our friends at Polymarket say that there's a 74% that Mr. Mamdani becomes the mayor of New York. That seems low to me. We'll talk about that. And Jerry Nadler, my congressman on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, endorsed Mamdani today to seek to unify the party. Ladies, here we go. Nina, you first. Can you invent a scenario where Mamdani is not mayor of New York, or do you think he's a mortal lock?
I think it's more likely than not, Mark. Certainly in this business, you learn.
Nina, I got to stop you. More likely than not, that's 50.1. It's higher than
No, I
that.
mean and the reason why I'm saying this is because being on on a national campaign with Senator Sanders twice, and seeing him, especially in 2020, win the early primary states, even going into the more diverse state of New Hampshire before the Democratic leadership on the neoliberal side flipped South Carolina. The reason why I'm saying more likely than not, because there's a long way between now and November, and no telling what the neoliberal leadership of the Democratic Party may or may not have up their sleeves. And we know that Mayor Eric Adams is running as an independent, so he's still, very much in this race. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, Mark, and that's why I'm saying more likely than not. They're mad. They're just as mad as President Donald J. Trump. Don't let these neoliberal Democrat leaders fool you. They are upset. I have seen them cycle after cycle go after more progressive candidates as if we're the Republicans.
Right. All right. Thank you for that. Emma Joe is a former journalist, worked at Fox News, New York Post, various other places. Now is a consultant. So Emma, put on your consultant hat. Let's say, what's that guy's name? Bill Ackman said, Emma, we got to stop this guy, and I'm going to pay a giant retainer, like Burisma Hunter level retainer, to organize. I want you to set up a meeting with everybody we need in the room to organize an effort to stop Mamdani from being mayor. Who would you invite, and what would your strategy be?
Okay, well, that's loaded. Let me eat this elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
I don't think
Start with the tail. It's like an appetizer.
well, I think that there is an impulse definitely on the Republican side, and I understand it and I see it, to paint Mamdani as a psycho and somebody who should be elevated because he's unpopular and his policies are not going to be effective. And I think that there's varying levels of validity to those like various positions, but the moral of the story is Mamdani won for a reason. And I think that there is a lot of steam picking up behind progressives. I think that, frankly, Bernie is the rightful winner of the 2016 Democratic primary, and I think he's the rightful winner, possibly even of the 2020. You know, yeah, no, I mean, like we actually agree on a lot. But I the thing is, I don't agree with those policies, and I think that they are nuts. And I see why the impulse is for people who are in opposition of that and want him to lose, want to mock those policies. But the fact is, he won for a reason, and the reason is because it's funny. There's actually this Peter Thiel email that's been circulating online today. I don't know if anybody has seen it, but it's super deep. And he's talking, it's an email to Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook from Peter Thiel. And he's talking about the impulse to want to stave off the millennial socialists from like running things. And he says something so interesting, which is when student debt is high and housing prices are too high, people tend to have negative capital, which makes them not bought into the capitalist system and not feel inclined to support it. And that is so true. And that is exactly, I think, what's being reflected in this race, which is New Yorkers are really suffering. They are dying from the price of housing. They are dying from the price, frankly, of everything. Mark, you know this. You live in New York too. You go outside and breathe and it costs you $200. And people are barely getting by. And maybe these policies, I definitely think these policies are not the solution personally at all. However, I 100% understand why people are voting for the guy who's like, you know what, I'm going to like cap the price of rent and I'm going to like get you some sort of free grocery store situation.
I don't know what kind of, thank you for that. I don't know what kind of loosey-goosey shop Botcha runs on the group chat, but you didn't answer my question. How would you organize to beat him?
You have to address that was the subtext of everything I just said.
Okay, let's get to text. Who, if all, look, there's so many rich, powerful people who want him to lose, and they don't have a plan right now. They got no plan. And the reality is, as we saw with Andrew Cuomo, ironically, attempts to stop him may only make him strong. But is there money that could be spent, a candidate around whom people could rally if they wanted to stop him, or he's unstoppable?
On the Democrat side, I don't think that they have a better candidate in New York than him. I mean, Cuomo
in the general election, could they get Adams elected? Could they get Cuomo elected? Could they find a way to get somebody else on the ballot?
The establishment Democrats who would be trying to, you're not going to have another progressive running against him. So any establishment Democrat that they put up will not address the progressive issues, which are what people are feeling and accurately reflect their frustration with their lives. So no, that's what I was saying. I don't think that there is a way to beat him unless you operate on the premise that he is on and grapple with that. Cuomo
Yeah.
didn't. There's no
Yeah.
establishment liberals and Democrats that are. And Jerry Nadler coming out and endorsing him is hilarious.
It is
Yeah.
hilarious. There's all sorts of speculation about why he won, and we've talked about it here. He ran a great campaign. Cuomo did not. He was a momentum candidate at the end. The establishment money may have backfired, and he got endorsements late from Senator Sanders and from AOC. Here's a fundraising email that came out just moments ago from the Congresswoman, whose support I think clearly was critical. She says, billionaires use the same scare tactics every time to divide working people. Let's rank that true or false. Nina, true or false?
Oh, true.
Emma, true or false?
True, but
True.
not the way she means it.
Okay. It's ought to create hysteria and keep us from achieving the affordable, dignified life we deserve. We won't fall for it anymore. And she includes two great New York Post headlines, critical of her and of her candidate. Next page. Is that here we go. We won't fall for it anymore. Billionaires spent $25 million trying to buy this election. They've got money, but we've got people. Things can feel hopeless, but a better world is still worth fighting for. And if we come together, we can win it. Will you make a $5 contribution to Zohran's campaign today? His work to become our mayor isn't done. Let's get this man to Gracie Mansion. Nina, lots of speculation that both in symbolism and substance, the likelihood that her ally, Mr. Mamdani, will be mayor makes AOC more likely to run against Chuck Schumer, more likely to be mayor. Do you see an impact on her from his victory in the primary?
I mean, people want to draw that. I, for a moment, Mark, want to let Mamdani have his moment and not loop her into this. For the love of God, can the man have his moment? I mean, going back to her first run, and no shade here, even though it's going to sound like shade, the number of people who voted in that primary compared to the number of people who voted in his mayoral race, I would say that he has much more and will continue to have much more influence. But my more important point is I just want him to be able to have his moment. We all get by with a little help from our friends. So certainly it was good to have Senator Bernie Sanders and also the Congresswoman come in and others to come in. But he is the one and his team, they were the ones organizing on that ground long before any of them ever endorsed him. And this is his moment on his strength.
That's a fair point. Emma, is there in your view, the prospect, and I've heard mixed things from people, that he will moderate, if not his positions, at least his tone, that he'll reach out to the business community? Bill de Blasio, who was here last night, predicted that he'll reach out, and Bill did reach out. It wasn't always effective, but he appointed a police commissioner who the establishment was very fond of, Bill Bratton. He reached out to the business community, he met with them. Would you expect Mamdani to do that? And would you expect the business community to read the writing on the wall, perhaps, and meet with him?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if he's going to be the mayor and he's going to be serious about it, he obviously has to engage with New York. What I am not sure about is whether he will moderate. I think that AOC has seen a steep decline in support among progressives because of that moderation that she did when she got her reality check when she went to Washington. And it didn't take very long at all before she was in lockstep with Nancy Pelosi and everybody was calling her a neolib. So I think that, I don't know, is he going to do the same thing where you just get into the job and all of a sudden you like calcify into the office and lose what made you get there in the first place? Or is he going to stick to his guns? I don't know what type of guy he is. I wish I could have dinner with him.
Yeah.
But why should he have to moderate though, too? Mark, I just want to add to what Emma Jo, I mean, just to piggyback on what she was saying. Everybody got to meet with him. Because when he wins, if and when he wins, he's the mayor, whether you supported him or not. So it's smart for him to meet with the business community. But I never heard the man say he was anti-business. And it's also smart for the business community to meet with him as well. I think he's being labeled with these kind of traits that he himself have never, has not exhibited, just because he has a certain policy plank that centers working class suffering people in the city of New York. So there's no reason to believe he has not shown as a state rep that he's unwilling to work with people from different backgrounds.
Yeah, I'm going to say two more things about that and then ask you ladies about Iran and then bring in everybody. So again, if you want to ask me a question, please raise your hand. One is, I agree, meet with him as mayor. I'm wondering if like I think he should, that what's that group called? The Association for New York something business group. I think he should say, I want to come speak to you. And he should give a speech about their common agenda.
Why not?
They want to live in a city where people can earn a living wage and schools can thrive and communities can thrive. So I think that'd be great for the city, and I think it would help him with the election. The other thing is, I'm going to say this carefully because however I say it, it'll cause consternation in some quarters. Donald Trump, to this day, but as a candidate, said really controversial things and divisive things, and sometimes was put in full context and sometimes was taken out of context. And Donald Trump, as a developer, didn't have the normal experience for being mayor or being president, rather. I think we should evaluate this gentleman on his statements and his record, but we shouldn't say because he's got an unorthodox resume or because he said some things that are controversial that eliminates him from consideration, or people should be furious about his nomination because the mood of this city is the status quo is not working. And if the status quo is not working, as it wasn't for many Americans in 2016, why would you elect someone who's a status quo candidate? And Andrew Cuomo ran as a status quo candidate and is a status quo candidate. So I think people should be more open-minded about what this is about, and let's let him explain his positions. Most of the things I hear from the right and from moderate Democrats about why he's a disaster and a socialist and all that are things that are popular with a lot of people. Raising taxes on the wealthiest may not be a good idea, but they're popular. Dealing with food deserts, making public transportation free. Now he's got some other positions, which we've talked about, we can continue to talk about, which are, as they're currently laying out there, not particularly popular and certainly are divisive. But I just think people should calm down in analyzing what kind of person he is, what kind of mayor he should be. I've never met him. I look forward to meeting him, but I'm not going to judge his credibility or his capacity to do this job based on he doesn't have a standard resume or based on some things he said they're controversial. Because if America had judged Donald Trump that way, he wouldn't have been elected, not once, but twice. And as we all said, Senator Sanders would have been, if the DNC hadn't cheated, would have been the Democratic nominee. And he has an unorthodox resume and also calls himself a socialist, and he speaks for tens of millions. All right, Emma Jo, what are your big unanswered questions now about Iran and that situation, whether it's about Israel, Iran, the United States? What are your big unanswered questions currently?
I guess the main one obviously is what is the truth about the extent of the damage that the operation did. Obviously, Natasha Bertrand is a sinister liar. I go back with her because she literally pulled an intelligence operation on the country regarding my reporting. She is known for just uncritically.
Okay, I'm sorry to stop you just because I want to add a little context. This is a CNN reporter who wrote the original story, but I'll say it was matched by many other people. So I understand you've got a beef with her. But
No. What was matched was that it was a document exists that has a low level of confidence, that is an isolated document that was released by itself with no other scope of information of what she's talking about, and by a person who is known for uncritically parroting security state propaganda and has a long career and history of doing this.
But isn't the fact that many other reporters and news organizations reported the same thing make her past, in this case, irrelevant?
No, because it obviously alludes to being a full picture, and then buries the fact that it isn't, which is exactly her style and how her lying works. You can lie by omission. So you can present something that is true and kind of obfuscate the fact that it's a limited scope of information so that people think a certain thing, even though that isn't the full picture and you know that.
Got it. Okay.
Which is what Trump is saying happened, by the way.
Understood. Nina, same question for you. What's your biggest unanswered question?
Whether or not President Donald J. Trump is going to return to the Donald J. Trump that ran as anti-war and more diplomacy. Diplomacy and a deal and having conversations is exactly what he should do, especially even in this moment and him being so rattled, about this. I mean, for the love of God, President Trump, you're the president of the United States of America, going off on people, which I know is his style and we've come to accept it, but everything is fake news. He wants investigation, FBI, all of this kind of stuff. So my biggest question is whether he will settle for a moment and comport himself like the leader of what we call the free world, and make sure, really push really, really, really hard to save lives, to save, prices, economics. I mean, all of us are going to be impacted by this one way or the other, some of us directly, some of us indirectly. But will he settle himself and continue to really push for diplomacy and a real solid deal?
Yeah, I was confused and maybe disappointed today when he said, we don't need any talks, but they're going to be talks. So we'll see where that goes. All right, time for your questions. A special rule tonight.
Can I just say one more
Yeah,
thing off
of
what you
course.
said? Because I totally agree. But I did the one thing that I obviously that he should really be focused on the big picture and on the goal, which is to create a stable situation, and ideally one that serves U.S. interests, or at least the world's interest, right, of stability in the Middle East. But I don't think that what I was talking about in terms of the danger of intelligence officials leaking and creating a certain image and like, I don't think that danger is not linked to what Nina said and the ability to conduct foreign policy by Trump and effective foreign policy by Trump. Look at what the Russia investigation did, which was basically a series of selective leaking by the intelligence community in order to derail Trump's presidency. What did it do? It created a huge wedge between the United States and another major global power, i.e. Russia, which still has not been resolved and is still fraught and is causing global conflict and massive death. And it prevented Trump from being able to have a dialogue and have diplomacy with Russia, because every time he did, there was this witch hunt after him about, oh, look, based on what? The selective leaking of the intelligence community, which was a coup. It was a soft coup. So this stuff, he's super triggered by it. This wasn't a big deal, this story maybe, but he is super triggered by this stuff because it is very dangerous and it impedes his ability to conduct his job.
Thank you. I don't want to assume Emma gets the last word. Nina, do you want to respond to that?
I mean, I agree with much, maybe not every little point. I think, again, once you become president of the United States of America, you got to shake it off.
Yeah.
But her point about how certain in the intelligence community and how the Democrats, par for the course, Republicans do it too, it's part of politics I hate, really use that to drive a wedge and really make up. I mean, they made up stuff. The Russia hysteria was ridiculous. And the Democrats played in that. They didn't care how it impacted him, the job he was trying to do, or us as Americans. They didn't care, because it's always about political one-upmanship for far too many politicians on both sides of the aisle, and the people be damned.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Amen to that. All right, special rule tonight. Rex, you're first. Say where you are for people who don't know. Tell us either you've never been to Brooklyn or your fondest memory of Brooklyn, and then what's on your mind for our great guests, Nina and Emma. Rex, set a great example.
I'm in Colorado, and I've never been anywhere near Brooklyn.
All right.
And I really don't know. And the only thing I know about New York City or anything is kind of what you see on the news.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of rats with guns shooting each other, and the citizens ducking behind jalopies. That's all we got here.
But,
Rex, thank you for joining. What's on your mind?
But I've heard from friends that have been to New York that it's a wonderful place.
It's a toddling town.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm nice and cool up here. It was about 68 degrees.
Yeah. All right. You don't need no cozy earth then, maybe.
Yeah. My question really is about the leaks. Over and over and over, you hear this got leaked and that got leaked, and nobody is ever held accountable for the leaks. And I think, once you, how would you say, midnight hammer the leaker?
Yeah.
Maybe these leaks would stop.
Yeah.
The other thing, when you made a comment about we don't need to have a meeting now, or maybe we could have a meeting now. I think that's right. We could have a meeting and discuss your nuclear program, or enough said.
Okay. Two great questions. Nina, you want to tackle one or both of those?
I mean, I don't want to midnight hammer anybody. Right.
Just a metaphor. just a minute.
I understand where you're coming from in terms of having somebody held accountable, especially if those leaks cause some type of the magnitude of the leak causes very harmful things to happen, even more than what they're happening now. In other cases, though, there may be times where we do need people to draw to the American public's attention things that government may be wanting to cover up. I'm not saying that this is a case, but that's one of the reasons why I don't want to midnight hammer anybody.
Understood. Emma, leaks and negotiations, thoughts?
Yeah, well, leaks, yeah. I mean, the thing that bothers me about the leaks, I mean, aside from the fact that they just aren't really dealt with systemically, like you don't see like anyone getting in trouble for anything. You had like Reality Winner was one, and then obviously Edward Snowden is exiled in Russia somewhere, and then you had Edward Snowden, and you had WikiLeaks, who was rotting in an embassy and then almost died in jail. And what they all have in common is just that their leaks were unfavorable to the intelligence community. But then if somebody leaks in a way that's unfavorable to an anti-establishment cause or person, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, news cycle changed. Like, sorry, like it's over now.
Great example, Majo. I'm sorry, I just wanted great examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true, like every single time. Anyway, I'm just noticing a pattern that I'm just noticing. I don't know what to say about it. I would, God forbid, never accuse the intelligence community of being crooked or having an agenda or a political agenda. God forbid. But regarding what was the other thing we were talking about, negotiations? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know. Like, I think that the Middle East has a very particular culture that sometimes and I'll admit, like, I'm very provincial this way. I was raised in Canada and I've lived in America, and I can struggle to understand the way that they kind of do politics and the way that they see things. I know that it's obviously very different than in the West. It is the East. And I don't know what they respond to. So I wonder, like, are they going to be more inclined now to have a conversation with Trump after he just like literally blew them up? He seems to think so. I hope so. I don't know how effective this stuff is. I just know that the logic that I would apply to it for myself and the way I deal with things and think is different than them. And I like know enough to know that I don't know.
My understanding is with Iran, the most popular game in Iran is chess. And they play chess very well.
Chess is number one. Shoots on land. Ladders is number two. Rex, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Emma Joe brings up a good point about, do I smack you around and then say, come sit down and meet with me? That is really against human nature. It would have been my hope that before the smackdown, which at first it seemed like President Trump was trying that, before Israel jumped in. But now to turn around and say, now we done slapped you around, but please come sit down with me. I really don't know how that works. I think it complicates matters even more than they were before in a region that is very complex and extraordinarily complicated.
You might be right, but I'll give you an example from recent history and Donald Trump that may be a countervailing piece of data. Okay. He smacked NATO around, and today the head of NATO paid homage to him for getting the NATO countries to kick in more. And then I swear to God, well, let's play it. Number 8, please. Here's the head of NATO calling President Trump daddy.
I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like 2 kids in a schoolyard. They fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
I think we have.
So again, he slapped NATO around by some people's estimation.
But no bombs were dropped, though.
Then he calls him daddy. Well, okay, but
no physical. No bombs were dropped, but no physical.
All right, we're keeping with the all Colorado episode. Here's Sue, who lives in Colorado. Sue, tell us about your fondest Brooklyn memory, and then your question for Nina and for Emma.
Well, I was born in New York City, lived there for years, lived in Brooklyn for a while. My fondest memory of Brooklyn, I lived on Clinton between Atlantic and Pacific. And I found out from my grandmother that my grandfather, who was a lawyer, and he was clerking or working in New York City, actually lived on Clinton. So every day that I walked to the subway, I was walking past the brownstone apartment that he lived in when he was working and clerking in New York. So that was
So that's incredible. And my uncle lives on that exact block today, just so you know.
yeah, it's a wonderful block. It's great.
It's
iconic
beautiful.
Brooklyn. It's
Beautiful.
wonderful.
All right. Thank you for all that. Questions for Nina and for Emma, please.
Well, sort of a comment first about the New York City mayor race. I heard that only 23% of Democrats voted in that primary. And if somebody is upset about the results of that, why didn't you get out in the hot weather and go vote? I mean, it's ridiculous that 23% voted in the primary.
It's pretty high turnout for a primary in this city, unfortunately. But
in Colorado, you get a mailed-in ballot, and everybody votes.
We don't make it easier. It's easier now than it used to be. We don't make it easier. All right, good comment. Question, please.
Question. Again, personal story. In the last couple of days, people have been saying, "Oh, I'm a product of 9/11. I was a teenager during the Iraq War." I was 8 years old, second grade, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, living in Westchester County. We were told you have an air raid drill now in addition to the fire drill. Go in the hallway, squat down, head against the wall, butt in the hallway, put your sweater or your jacket over your head, and that would protect you from whatever was going to come. As if little Susie's crocheted sweater would have done anything if the walls had collapsed and, there's nuclear fallout. Luckily, there wasn't any. My entire life, I think, has been shaped by that experience, the anxiety about nuclear war. So we're at a point now where the world is saying Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. North Korea probably shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. We had a SALT treaty years ago. Okay, for whatever reason, maybe it wasn't being adhered to on all sides, it was canceled. Given the current environment where finally the countries are addressing the fact that there are nations out there that shouldn't have nuclear weapons, we can destroy our planet over, 10, 20 times. Do you think there's any inclination by the world's leaders to actually address this situation here with nuclear proliferation? Is this a pipe dream of mine? I mean, if you say, what's your pageant question? What do you want? Oh, I would answer that. I would like to see nuclear weapons. We don't need all these weapons. I mean, is there any reason for me to hope that there might be some change there?
Emma.
No.
Please.
I'm sorry. I mean, listen, I don't relish the fact that nukes exist, I guess. I hate violence, obviously, in any form, let alone in that form. But I don't think that it's realistic. Unfortunately, I just don't. I don't see a world where the United States gives up their nukes, and that would have to be no one else is giving up their nukes if the US isn't. And
right.
That will never happen, I don't believe.
These other countries look at the fact that we flew all these airplanes, bombers, and coordinated this mission, and they were not tracked by anybody. And it was a flawless mission. Whether you like Trump or not, you have to give credit to the fact that this was a flawless mission. Are they saying, if they can do this to Iran, they can do this to me, flipping that old Trump line? Are they worried about that? Or are they saying,
they certainly took notice of it.
Well, the whole thing, I mean, North Korea says over and over again, or there are reports that they say that the whole thing with North Korea's nukes is because they looked at Gaddafi. So everybody is looking at the way something went down for somebody else and thinking no, I have to protect myself from whatever that fate was. And the ultimate protection is nukes, because unfortunately, when you have nukes, all of a sudden people kind of have to start being nice to you. They at least have to negotiate with you. They can't really go to war with you. I mean, it's very difficult too. And nukes are effective. They're an effective deterrent, and it's unfortunate, but the reason is because they are so horribly lethal.
All Sue is saying, give peace a chance.
Exactly.
Nina, do you want to comment on this question?
Amen. I mean, I'm with Sue. Sue, I think you should continue to hope and push for something like that. I think every country, every major country that has a nuclear weapon should be moving towards some type of disarmament. While Emma Jo is right, human nature, unfortunately, what it is on that side, we'll probably never ever get rid of all of them, but moving towards a direction of peace and understanding that if, in fact, we ever came close to a WW3, it's lights out for each and every one of us. And so in that fashion, we are all connected, both directly and indirectly. So I would hope to see more nuclear disarmament soon. I'm with you. Even though it may never happen, it's not going to stop me from continuing to be anti-war, pro-peace, and so many millions of others, not just in this country, across the world, and to continue to push for that.
My father was in World War II, and he was in the Coast Guard on troop transport ships. He was one of the first, he was on one of the ships that first sailed into Hiroshima after they dropped the bomb, because they were bringing in the army. And to listen to him tell the story of what he could see, he would not get off the ship and go in because he could not bring himself to view what had happened. So again, my entire life has been shaped by this. I would hope that maybe we could get back to a SALT treaty, but yeah, I get you.
Sue, thank you. Great historical and current perspective. Sam, you want to come over to your camera? Give you an opportunity if you want to come on over. There you go. Sam, welcome in. Unmute. You got any kids with you, Sam? Sam frozen? It's unfortunate. There you go. Sam, are you able to unmute?
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Yes, no kids today. No kids today. I'm just clearing out my house that we're moving out of, so very empty. But yeah, Mark, the reason I came on is, I'm in Texas, by the way, Dallas, Texas. The reason I came on is listening to you guys respond yesterday to the.
Sam, I think maybe you canceled the internet in anticipation of the move. Try one more time, Sam. We just heard you say listening yesterday.
Yeah, listening yesterday to the response of the nomination of Mamdani sort of reminded me of the election of Trump in November. I think there are a lot of people on the right and center right who just don't understand why New York Democrats would vote for this guy. And you've had, Mark, a lot of people come on here and speak about how listening to Two-Way was so helpful to get them to understand that Republicans or Trump voters in general aren't just these rabid, terrible, racist, horrible people. And I just wanted, the reason I wanted to come on is just to point out, especially Emma Jo today, the remarks that she made, but specifically Nina coming from the left. I think her perspective is going to be super helpful for people to understand the appeal of Mamdani. Being a millennial, I think it's been, I'm in my late 30s. I have a lot of friends. I'm 39 years old. I have a lot of friends who haven't had the opportunity to buy a house. They're deep in student loan debt, that are completely demoralized by capitalism, because in their lives, it just hasn't done anything for them. So I just wanted to share that perspective. That from an economic standpoint, socialism is. I don't agree with it personally. I believe in capitalism. I believe in the system that we've built to flow. I truly think it's important for in the spirit of this show to really try to understand where these folks are coming from, specifically from an economic standpoint.
Okay, Sam, I appreciate that. I two quick things, and then we'll get the ladies to respond. First of all, your best Brooklyn memory? You ever been to Brooklyn?
I don't think I've ever been to Brooklyn. I've been to Manhattan a bunch of times, but I've never been able to get up to Brooklyn.
All right. When you come, Emma will give you recommendations. Sam, thank you. Real quick, ladies, before you respond, here's a new statement from the head of the CIA, former Congressman John Radcliffe. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from an historically reliable and accurate source method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information to keep appropriate decision makers and oversight bodies fully formed when possible. We will also provide updates and information to the American public, given the national importance of this matter, and in every attempt to provide transparency. Again, most organizations would have one body performing a function that was necessary. In this case, I think there's like 9 or 11 parts of the intelligence community who might have a point of view about this. And it's a little unusual for the CIA director, but I wouldn't be shocked if Donald Trump maybe made the request to Mr. Director, could I get an amen on this? Now, he's severely damaged, course of years. That's closer to the Trump position than Marco Rubio, closer to the Trump position than at times what Caroline Leavitt has said. And I'm sure the president's pleased about that. Nina, I'm sure you're going to embrace what Sam said, but I'd love to hear your specifics.
Mark,
can I
add one? I'm just going to add one other thing. One other thing that was super obvious to most of us in November that I think hasn't been really explored that deeply here is the candidate that he was running against was awful. Everyone knew Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate. And for his own reasons, Cuomo is just, I think it would be a terrible mistake to have him run as an independent in the
Yeah, my guess is he won't. Nina, comment on what Sam had to say, please.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate Sam having an openness, saying that people should listen to other points of view, which is what you say as well, Mark, and especially the progressive point of view. It is very informative. And it wasn't just progressives, though, that voted for Mamdani. If it were, he would not be the Democratic nominee. And so people just have to face the fact that there were people from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different on the spectrum, on the political spectrum, different ideologies, who decided that they wanted to give him a chance. I mean, when you have 1 in every 4 New Yorker living in poverty, you think you might want to have somebody that's very specific about the types of things that they're going to do to change your material conditions. And in that case, economic populism definitely resonates with all people, because the last time I checked, poverty does not just impact those who are progressives or liberal. It impacts, conservatives and people who don't even label themselves like that on a regular basis. When people are suffering, they want to hear more, and especially in a Democratic primary. Just bump it up against something else that Sam said. Yeah, the Democrats messed up because they didn't have a real primary for the presidential in 2024. We just got to tell that truth. And Vice President Harris was selected by the neoliberal status quo to be the nominee when the Democrats could have had a full-blown, robust primary, and it didn't work. So this New York primary is the first robust primary in the biggest city in the country where people had a chance on the Democratic side of the ledger to weigh in. And they weighed in for the person who specifically spoke to their pain points.
Yeah, no, she's just 100% right. Like every single thing. I would have nothing different to say. I mean, the thing is, like, the status quo, you said it, Mark, earlier. It's like the neoliberal Democratic Party establishment only represents the status quo, and the status quo has been killing people, like killing them, and millennials are dead under this weight of the status quo, and it's just not working. So economic populism is where it's at. And the question is, are you on the right or on the left? And, people are like, oh my God, like LOL, like Emma and Nina get along so well. But I'm not like LOL at all. Like, we are like totally on the same page. We just have different ideas about how it's got to go. But ultimately, we are diagnosing the exact same problems. I 100% understand why Mamdani won. Life in New York is too hard. And talking to people about the status quo, it's like, what, dude? Like, seriously? The rent, I mean, I got priced out of a 2-bedroom like just 2 years ago. And it's like, I'm a 30-year-old woman. Like, what's going on? And I have 2 incomes. So it's like, I don't know, like the status quo, like question mark. I don't know what they're offering exactly. And it didn't seem like there was a real pitch, or there ever is, frankly, when you see these Democratic Party establishment candidates. What's the pitch? it's nothingness. It's just nothingness. I couldn't discern a policy platform with Kamala Harris. The progressives are like offering stuff, and like I think that it's the wrong call, but I mean they're offering stuff and they're
It's
addressing
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I so appreciate Sam has always been one of the most thoughtful members of our community, and
I
I appreciate
recognize
to have Emma, who you know it considers Ted Cruz to be a rhino, and Sam who's a free marketeer. Both of you expressing such not just intellectual but emotional understanding of why this gentleman won and why New Yorkers who don't like the status quo would turn to this set of ideas given the alternatives. So very grateful to you both for that. And Sam, grateful to you having come in. Good luck with the move. We look forward to seeing the new place, whatever that ends up being. So thank you. Welcome in, Amber and Child.
Hi.
Thank you for joining. Tell folks.
This is Ireland.
Oh, look at that. That is quite a look. Hello there. Hi. Amber, tell folks who don't know where you are, your favorite Brooklyn memory, and what's on your mind for Nina and for Emma.
Well, I'm from Indianapolis. And my favorite Brooklyn memory is when I was in high school, I got to come sing in the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir for a thing that we did at church, and it was amazing.
That's awesome. Do you remember what you sang?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm sure it's probably something that they had released around that time, but
yeah. Okay. Question or comment, please.
My question is, I'm curious for all of us living. For all of us living outside of New York and other places that do the ranked choice voting, like, how is that working? Like, did Mamdani win because so many people put him as like their third or fourth choice? Did he
results,
win in like a round one or?
Yeah. The only thing that's been released is round one. They can't do the subsequent rounds until the absentee ballots and the provisional ballots and the overseas ballots come in. And so he was expected by most people to be a little bit behind in the first round, but to win in the subsequent rounds because there was a big movement to not list Cuomo on the part of almost all the other candidates. And so he did not, he won outright without the ranked choice voting in terms of being first. He'll go over 50% when they do the tallying. So we'll find out exactly what the final is under the ranked choice voting system in a couple weeks or 10 days or so. But he will go over 50% because of the way ranked choice voting works. I think he benefited in the sense that again, there was this coalition of many of the other candidates, including him, to aggressively brand the concept of don't list Cuomo in the top five. And it definitely made a momentum difference as well. And it allowed him to have a kind of this coalition with the others. Amber, we got to go because I just noticed the clock, which I'd lost track of. But thank you for joining. Have a great night. Thank you for being part of it.
Can I make a request?
Yes, ma'am.
As a resident of Brooklyn, I still don't like totally get the ranked choice voting thing. I like vaguely get it, but not fully get it. And you mentioned that you had de Blasio on.
Yeah.
So I think that he should come back on and
do a tutorial.
No, I want the pizza thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did.
He infamously did something.
Yeah. All right. We'll recreate that. We'll do that. Ladies, I couldn't be more grateful to you for making time. Their show, the group chat, airs Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is only 2/5. Imagine a show with 3 additional folks of this quality, and your head will explode. But tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time, every Thursday. Ladies, grateful to you. And starting now, the reason we got to make sure we end on time is one of our better shows. All our shows are great. Our friend Bridget Fedesi and Real America. She's going to be talking about why are you patriotic? So please join on the two-way platform or perhaps on YouTube. Don't put smack in the chat, but join to find out why your fellow Americans are feeling patriotic these days. If they are, that's with Bridget again starting now. I'll be back tomorrow 9 a.m. Eastern time, Sean, Dan, and I with the morning meeting. And then again, I'll say one more time, these two ladies, part of it, 2/5 of America's leading ensemble cast, the group chat, 4 p.m. on Thursdays Eastern time. Thank you to Nina. Thank you to Emma. Thanks to everybody who asked questions. Thank you for joining. Change over right now. Watch Real America with Bridget. Have a good night.